Okay guys, so this is going to be like a Dragon Ball Z appreciation video, and if there's one cartoon that I watched as a kid that I still think about daily to this day, it's Dragon Ball Z. And I watched Dragon Ball Z when I was like 10 years old on Cartoon Network around 2003. At least I think that's when Dragon Ball Z came out. I've tried looking it up on Google and there's not that much history on what was airing on Cartoon Network back in like the early 2000s. From what I can see, that's when Dragon Ball Z did come out over in the UK. And if there's anyone listening to this who's from the UK, if you could let me know exactly when Dragon Ball Z came out and how many episodes a week and things like that down in the comments, that'd be great, because I can't even remember how I used to watch Dragon Ball Z. I know it was on Cartoon Network, and in my mind I used to watch 5 episodes a week, Monday to Friday, and that'd be like my 5 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. But at the same time, I can also remember kind of watching maybe 5 episodes a day. Like maybe on Sunday they might have played 5 episodes at once. Honestly, I can't even remember it that long ago. Talking about something that I watched 17 years ago. Like I say, if there's any cartoon that's had an impact on my life, it's Dragon Ball Z. I think about this program nearly every single day. To this day, what I'm thinking about is, I wonder what sort of missions Goku could be on, or Gohan. I wonder what Gohan could be up to in my mind. At the moment, we've got Dragon Ball Super. Now, I'm not a big fan of Dragon Ball Super, but that's probably another video for another time. What we're talking about now is just how much of a fan and how much I love Dragon Ball Z. There are things about Dragon Ball Z that obviously I like. You know, Dragon Ball Z is a badass show with action. The fights in Dragon Ball Z are like some of the, if you've never seen Dragon Ball Z and then you watch a Dragon Ball Z fight, you're probably going to be a little bit blown away by it. There are some people out there who say they don't like animes or cartoons, but I usually ask them, do you like the Rocky franchise? Do you like Star Wars? Because if you like things like that, you're definitely going to like Dragon Ball Z. It's a great combination of physical action. It's almost like a martial arts. Maybe if you like the Raid movies, you know, just really good combat action, then you're probably going to like Dragon Ball Z. I can almost bet on it that you're going to like Dragon Ball Z if you've never seen it. But most of you guys listening to this probably have seen Dragon Ball Z, but yeah, if you haven't, make it your mission to watch Dragon Ball Z. But Dragon Ball Z, the original series, it's not just about the fighting and things like that and badass action. Like I say, you've got all the key attacks and things like that. But more than that, it's about family and friends, and that's what's the great thing about it. You know, there's a lot of emotional moments in Dragon Ball Z, and one of the great things that I like about it is it's a linear story. Some cartoons and TV shows, it's kind of like an episode and then the next episode won't have anything to do with it. But Dragon Ball Z, it's that one continuous story that starts off when we literally go from Gohan being a young child. I'm not sure how old he's supposed to be at the beginning, maybe like 4 years old, 6 years old, 2 years old, however old he's supposed to be, to Gohan being an adult. And even now in Dragon Ball Super, he's got his own kid. So, you know, we've literally lived a lifetime in Dragon Ball Z. One of the things that I like to do, I mentioned that I still think about Dragon Ball Z to this day. One of the things that I like to do is I really like to think about, you know, what could Gohan be up to? Even though we've got Dragon Ball Super, which is the continuation of Dragon Ball Z, I'm not too big of a fan of Dragon Ball Super. Even still, I still love the characters in it and I still enjoy some of the things that they do. But for the most part, I like to come up with my own ideas of what these characters could be up to. I'm no Akira Toriyama, but he's influenced me where I feel like I can kind of imagine some cool villains and I can imagine the space travel stories that these guys would go on. Obviously Dragon Ball Z isn't the first thing to do this. There's a lot of like unassuming things. Like for instance, when Vegeta and Nappa show up, Nappa's this big guy, he's all muscly, and then Vegeta's kind of a little guy, he doesn't look like anything special, but then Vegeta's the one who's a savage, and you know, he's obviously the strongest Prince of Saiyans. You guys know Vegeta, complete badass. But then another great thing is how, you know, Vegeta is a villain. Just the whole story progression of Dragon Ball Z, it's kind of hard for me to put it in words because it's that deep and vast. The story, like the storytelling, it could say it's simple, but at the same time it's hard to explain just how good it is. It's crazy how Vegeta, obviously he's the big bad villain of the first arc going after Raditz, how he comes back in the Namek arc and how he's kind of like an anti-hero in that arc where he's still a bad guy but he's teaming up with Gohan and Krillin. And it's been a while since I've watched Dragon Ball Z, so I'm going off memory here. I just remember it. And one of the great things about Dragon Ball Z as well is the 90s humour, because it was dubbed in the 90s or early 2000s or whenever it is. It's got that great 90s humour. There's just a bunch of stuff in there that you're going to find funny if you're from the 90s, or if you can kind of laugh at that. It's almost dated, it's something from its time, you know what I mean? Has it held up? I'd say it has. Kind of, there's a lot of humour in Dragon Ball Z, put it that way, and some of that comes down to the dubbing and where they decide to go with some of the jokes and things like that. Even coming back to it's all about friends and family thing, you know, the fact that you've got Krillin, who's Goku's oldest friend, and he's now chilling with Gohan on Namek. They're looking for their Dragon Balls, and, you know, Frieza comes down and obviously he's a great villain. All the transformations of Frieza as well, you know, when Frieza's going through the transformations, at the time, obviously, I've never seen anything like this before, you know, I'm a 10-year-old kid, and it's like, oh man, this bad guy, but then all of a sudden he's transforming and he's even stronger, and it's like, oh no, what's going to happen? I can really remember the first time I watched Dragon Ball Z, and there comes a point where Frieza's basically like, you know, Namek's got 5 minutes left or whatever. It's become kind of a joke within the Dragon Ball Z community that Frieza says that there's 5 minutes left, but then it's like 5 hours before the planet actually blows up in real time. At the time, as a kid, I never really noticed stuff like that. I just thought it was amazing, you know what I mean? And then Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time, and that just reminds me of Goku going Super Saiyan first time is the intro of Dragon Ball Z, Rock the Dragon. Probably the best intro to any TV show ever, but that just gets you pumped for an episode of Dragon Ball Z. And if you used to watch Dragon Ball Z as a kid and you haven't watched it in a while, go back and listen to Rock the Dragon. It's just going to bring back all those memories. In my opinion, the English intro is a lot better than the Japanese intro. Even the side villains, I mean, the Ginyu Force, and that's one of the great things about Dragon Ball Z, in fact, is how they build things up. I can't remember, I think it must be Vegeta who's telling everyone about the Ginyu Force, and he's basically saying that, you know, these guys are the 5 deadliest guys in the universe or whatever, and it's like, oh my god, these guys must be serious. And then they get there, and I think Vegeta probably beats a couple of them, and Gohan and Krillin, I think, beats one of them. I can't quite remember who fights who, but I remember this. And the Ginyu Force are funny as well, you know. You've got Chase, who's like he's Australian, he's got the Australian accent, or at least he does in the Team 4-Star one. I'm pretty sure he does in the English dub as well. But yeah, the Ginyu Force, when Captain Ginyu takes over Goku's body, you know, that's an interesting scenario. It's like, oh no, what's Goku gonna do? And then his body gets badly beaten down, but then and I'm kind of just recapping the whole Dragon Ball Z series here. I hope you guys don't mind, but I just like talking about it. And one of the awesome things is when they finally do gather the Dragon Balls. And sorry guys, I'm going to be all over the place here because my mind's kind of just firing all over the place. This is one of those things that's hard to talk about because it's hard to put my passion into words. So you guys are just going to have to bear with me, and hopefully you'll enjoy this anyway. But when they gather the Dragon Balls on Namek, I can't remember who it is, or it must be Gohan, Krillin and Dende, I think, and basically they wish Piccolo back, but they wish him back to Namek, and it's like he's a badass and he's ready to fight, and oh man, that shit's awesome. I just love that stuff. You know, Piccolo absorbs, I can't remember, or he fuses with Nile, I think he's called Nile. He fuses with Nile, and he becomes even stronger, and Piccolo's fight with Frieza on Namek, that's something special. You know, Piccolo really comes in, is a real key player, Piccolo, in the early Dragon Ball Z, and, you know, it's a shame that in Super and things like that, they've kind of gone away from these side characters, because Piccolo were getting a lot of boost-ups to stick up with people like Vegeta and Goku, and him fusing with Nile was one of those kind of boost-ups to put him on a level where he could kind of match Frieza for the form that Frieza was in. You know, I think he pushed Frieza to the level, and that was interesting to see. There's loads of stuff that I could talk about the Namek arc that I've missed. Like, one of the things that I always remember is when Goku's fighting Frieza on Namek, and then he kind of goes underwater for a moment. I can't remember why, whether he gets knocked underwater or he just decides to go underwater for a breather. But I thought that was a really cool visual. There's a lot of cool visuals in Dragon Ball Z, and probably ingrained in my mind, which is why the cool visuals along with the cool story, it's just a A-star TV program, not even just an A-star anime. If you like things like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, you're not necessarily going to like Dragon Ball Z because you like those things, but if you're a fan of great TV shows, Dragon Ball Z is absolutely a great TV show, and it only gets better. Like the Saiyan arc, like everyone has their favourite arc, and a lot of people say that the Frieza arc is the best arc. In my opinion, it's the arc that comes after that that's the best, the Android arc and the Cell arc. Now, the Android arc and the Cell arc, I'll just put it into one arc, the Cell arc. And this is amazing. You've got time travel, robots. This whole arc's amazing. You know, Trunks shows up and it's like, who the hell is this guy? Well, not only Trunks shows up, but Frieza comes back. And he's supposed to be even powerful than he was on Namek. You know, he's Mecha Frieza and he's with his dad. It's like, oh no, this is going to be trouble. But then Trunks shows up and it's like, whoa, who's this guy? And it's another Saiyan and he's got a sword. And at that moment, Trunks is probably the coolest character ever. But then pretty much straight away after Trunks deals with Frieza with ease, you know, he makes it look easy, he splits him in half. Pretty much as soon as that happens, Goku comes back, and Goku's looking pretty badass in the Yard Rat uniform. The Cell arc is even more in depth than the Namek arc. The Namek arc is pretty simple, but the Cell arc, you know, there's a lot going on, and it's just super interesting. You know, you've got alternative timelines. People are dead in the alternative timeline. Gohan's an adult and he's only got one arm, and there's just a bunch of stuff going on. But you've got great villains. I mean, the androids, once again, going back to the people looking unassuming. You know, the androids are basically just a boy and a girl, pretty much, or, you know, young adults or whatever, teenagers. They don't look like much, but obviously the androids created by Red Ribbon, which is one of the great story things about Dragon Ball Z, is a lot of callbacks. The androids could have just been new villains, but no, they're created by a villain who showed up probably 200 episodes ago in Dragon Ball. I love that fact about it, that, you know, the androids show up, they're super powerful. The androids are kicking the Saiyans' asses. You know, Piccolo, I think he has to do some training in the hyperbolic time chamber, and then he's putting up a fight against 17. One of the best fights. A lot of people who really like Dragon Ball Super, but don't really know about Dragon Ball Z, I tell them 17 versus Piccolo is kind of like a B-list fight in the grand scheme of things. It's better than any fight that happened in Dragon Ball Super. And that just goes to show how good Dragon Ball Z was at this point. For me, this is the peak of Dragon Ball Z, the Cell arc. And then Android 18 giving Vegeta that kick. It's like a famous or infamous kick that pretty much breaks Vegeta's arm. I can't remember who the first android to get absorbed is. I think it must be... I think 17 gets absorbed first, although I'm not too sure about that. You know, basically Cell, he starts absorbing the androids, and that's his way of transforming, and, you know, he has some pretty sinister looks, like he kind of looks like a bug at first, and then he's imperfect Cell, and then he becomes perfect Cell. And, you know, the great thing about Cell is when he's perfect Cell is he's got like a cocky, arrogant attitude. Frieza never really had a cocky, arrogant attitude, and that's the great thing about the villains in Dragon Ball Z. Frieza and Cell, they did have different personalities. For me, I always preferred the more of the Cell type of personality. Cell's personality was a lot like Vegeta's. Although Vegeta at times would get scared, Cell never really got scared until obviously Gohan turned Super Saiyan, and then he was scared. But anyway, Cell's personality, yeah, he was kind of like cocky, arrogant, and I found that interesting. He was kind of a funny villain as well, and obviously super strong. You know, he made the Cell games, and kind of cocky and arrogant in the way that he wanted to have a tournament to see who was the strongest person on Earth or strongest person in the universe or whatever. His cocky arrogance cost him, because when he probably had the chance to take out all the Z fighters, he should have done. Instead, eventually Gohan became stronger and achieved Super Saiyan 2, which, oh man, I'm kind of going off track here, I'm jumping back, but, you know, before obviously before the Cell tournament, they all go in the hyperbolic time chamber, and that was one of the great things to see Goku and Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber training, both in the Saiyan armor, which I thought was a cool visual. The Cell arc probably has most of the costume changes throughout the series. You know, Goku in his Raditz armor and the Yadra armor, then he's probably got his Saiyan uniform, then he's probably back to his normal gi. Gohan, you know, training in the Saiyan armor, and then he decides to wear Piccolo's gi to represent his first master, and pretty interesting. But there is a lot of emotional moments as well, like Gohan, he wants to go fight Cell, but Goku knows that he's not ready and it's too early, and he kind of slaps him down and he's like, no, you're not ready. And then, you know, Gohan's about to cry and he's like, oh, if you can't deal with that, there's no way you'll be able to deal with Cell. So they go in the hyperbolic time chamber. Obviously, you know, Gohan, he achieves Super Saiyan, we see that in the hyperbolic time chamber. You know, Goku, he has this faith in Gohan, and he's like telling the rest of the Z fighters, like, you know, Gohan can do it. And basically Goku goes up against Cell first, he tests him out to see what he's made of, and then he basically stands down and he lets Gohan step up. And at the time, and I haven't watched the Cell arc in ages, I'm really savouring going back and watching the Cell arc. This is all the stuff memory that I'm giving it to you guys. Yeah, I can't even, like I say, it's been a while since I've watched it, so I can't really put it all into words, but I just know that it's an amazing arc, and in my opinion, the pinnacle of Dragon Ball Z. Going into the Buu arc, obviously there's quite a big time skip, maybe like 8 or 10 years from the end of the Cell arc. Going into the Buu arc, once again, it's another great arc. It's my least favourite arc, and it's probably because it's got the least favourite villain. There's just a disconnect from Boo and myself. It's probably because we've gone from two rather smart villains in Frieza and Cell to kind of an idiot with power in Boo. And then he becomes Kid Buu, which is like a vicious idiot with power. There's a lot of great things in this arc, and I'm going to reel them off quick, and I'll cut this video at the end of this. Some of the things that stick out to me about the Buu arc, which I'll never forget. Everything that I've talked about in this video, I'll never forget. Even if I was never to watch an episode of Dragon Ball Z again, everything that I've talked about in this video, I can assure you that I'll remember it for the rest of my life. Some of the things that I remember about the Buu arc is the fusions, obviously. Well, in fact, we get Kid Trunks and Kid Goten, two great characters, two of my favourite at the time of watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid. Kid Goten and Kid Trunks, they were two of my favourite characters at the time because I was probably around about the same age as them, 10 years old. And that's why I always connected with Gohan as well, because he was around my age as well. You know, when he was kicking Cell's ass, he was 2 years older than me, or around the same age. So that was always interesting, the fact that the kids got a lot of shine and they weren't just background characters, they were some of the main characters. But some of the things that I really liked about this arc was Majin Vegeta. Couldn't believe it when Vegeta turned back to the dark side. Star Wars in there coming out. But you know, Vegeta turning back to the dark side but getting a big power up and doing so. The fight between Vegeta and Goku, where Goku only goes Super Saiyan 2 and he kind of lets Vegeta beat him. That was a great fight, you know. It was kind of like the rematch from when them two first fought, probably 200 episodes ago, something like that. Mystic Gohan as well. Mystic Gohan was one of my favourite characters. Even though I didn't like what they did with Gohan, I hated Saiyaman. I hated things like that, and that's probably one of the things that really put me off this arc. I did like Mystic Gohan when Gohan went to train with the Kais. I thought that was a really interesting concept, and I'd have liked seeing Gohan do more things like that in Dragon Ball Super, but obviously they've gone with a totally different direction with his character. But you know, Mystic Gohan and obviously Gohan reunited with Goku. This isn't canon, but also the Otherworld or Underworld tournament where Goku meets Pikkon and things like that. I thought that was really interesting as well. Even though it's non-canon, that's some of my favourite Dragon Ball Z, and you know, I'll always remember stuff like that. Goku fights that fish guy and he kind of puts him underwater. Another underwater scene, maybe that's why I'll always remember it. But yeah, going back to the fusions, you've got Gotenks when the two kids fuse. That was awesome. Gotenks is definitely one of my favourite characters, probably top 5. Super Saiyan 3. I think Gotenks is the first person to go Super Saiyan 3. Could be wrong on that, but either way, even when he goes Super Saiyan, you know, he's strong and he's badass and he's there to... These kids are there to beat Buu, which is crazy, right? Trained by Piccolo being a key player once again, although Piccolo's not actually that strong, so he's more in the training aspect at this point. And also you've got the fusion of Goku and Vegeta into Vegito using the Potara rings. Oh man, there's just loads of stuff that I could go on about Dragon Ball Z. I've talked for it for nearly 20 minutes now, so... If you guys have got any great moments about Dragon Ball Z, even going back to some other little key moments that are non-canon, do you guys remember Garlic Jr. and Salt and Pepper, his henchmen? Even though that's a non-canon arc, I love that stuff. I love seeing Gohan defeat Garlic Jr. with the help of Piccolo. Some people actually don't like that filler arc, but for me it's a good filler arc, and I'd say that one filler arc is better than some of the actual arcs in Dragon Ball Super. As you can see, I've got some strong thoughts on Dragon Ball Super, and that'll probably be another video in itself. Anyway guys, like I say, if you guys have got any great moments of Dragon Ball Z that you like, put them down in the comments below. I'd love to read them and reminisce on Dragon Ball Z with you guys. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.